All right, off to a good start here. Not sure what happened on that turn. Looks to me like there should have been some arrows there, but I'm sure they got knocked over in one of the earlier rows. Pretty good hole shot there, and don't believe that the guy in front of me now is in my class, because I held first place for most of the race, and later on in the race, I think the second to the last lap, I slid out on an off-camber turn and let Dave by, and so I ended up second for the race, which isn't too bad considering the fact that I haven't been racing this year. So this is my second race back this year. I haven't been racing, just had too many things going on that I've pushed off the last 5 years that I've been running every single race. And so Old 50 last race was my first race this year, and I recorded that one, but I didn't post it because I felt like it was too boring, because I wasn't sure what my fitness was going to be like, so I really wasn't riding very fast at the last race. I still ended up third place, but just didn't feel like I rode very well because I was kind of holding back. And so I pushed a little bit harder this race and felt really good, actually. So like I said, I ran first for like at least the first 3 laps, maybe even the first 4 laps, but then I threw it away on the last second lap or to go, or the last lap to go, one or the other. I slid out and threw my race away, so ended up second place. But you can't tell yet, it is dry. I mean real dry, but there actually was a little bit of moisture in the ground in areas. So not everywhere it was horrible, but man, there was some areas that were really dry. It got pretty dusty. Some of the new stuff that Dummy put in got pretty deep, pretty powdery. Overall, I like this place a lot. Definitely wanted to come back and race this race for sure. And so here we are. Running a couple of different directions here on some of the trails that we normally use on this course. I thought the track layout was good. This is one of the uphill dusty sections. Kind of got really powdery later on in the race. There's a couple of other ones. One on the back side of the track that, man, it got deep. I mean, it was like paddling through snow almost. It got so deep, but it's all good. It's all part of it. Make sure you got a clean filter. This is going to be a long first lap. I think he said that the course was 8.5 miles long, and that just made it really, really nice.
On your lap.
To be able to, ride a lot without, starting to lap a lot of people, all in at the same time. The longer courses are just sweet. So here again, just following this guy. I never did figure out who he was. I never seen what his number was. But again, I think he's in the senior class. I actually looked at the results, and I got second in Masters, but I would have also got second in Senior based on the way I rode today. So it's possible maybe that's the guy that gets first in Senior class, maybe? I don't know. Dust wasn't too bad down in these areas. There was just enough moisture in the ground that wasn't super dusty. It was pretty nice back in here. There were some areas that got quite dusty. So I had to kind of get used to, I don't have fresh tires on my bike. So when I was chasing the points, you know, every year, I was keeping pretty good tires on my bike, and I noticed today, well, especially like at the last race at Old 50, I didn't have really good sharp tires on my bike, and it definitely makes a difference. So I think we're getting ready to drop down into this gully, which I thought was a really cool line that he put in the course here in just a minute. I liked this whole section, but I mean, it got super powdery, but this whole section here was really cool, and then dropping down into this gully was a lot of fun. I love these kind of lines like this. I might not have been saying the same thing if it was raining, but it's a fun little line down in here. Some of these uphills here where we were riding on the fresh ground here, this is some of the stuff that got really dusty later on in the race. But there again, with the longer course, it wasn't as big a deal as it normally is, just because, you know, we were spread out more. So a lot of the race, really, I really didn't follow people much. That's just because the people that I did catch up to, I could generally pass them pretty quick, and then everybody else was spread out enough that, you know, you just weren't really catching up to a lot of people. So it was all good. At this point, I'm probably going to race the last race also at the gully. I thought that was a pretty fun course last time. You had a lot of tight stuff in this course, that's for sure. I'm not against the tight stuff. I like a mix of everything.
Thank you.
So you put some faster stuff in there, put some tight stuff in there too. Makes for a good race. Felt like I was able to keep my pace up pretty much the entire race, and we ran for 2 hours. So there again, not racing a lot this year, and really not riding a lot either. I was not sure how my fitness was going to hold up, but felt pretty good actually. Surprised that we didn't have more bikes than what we did this particular race, because this is a fun place to ride, but I think it's getting late in the season, and I don't know, maybe sometimes people this later on in the season, if it's going to be hot or whatever, they don't show up, but it actually wasn't too hot. It was a good day to ride, really. Looks like we're catching up to a few people here. At this point in the race, I really don't hear anybody behind me, and so I'm pretty much just content just kind of following this guy that's in front of me at this point. We're really running about the same pace. Leaves are starting to turn, getting close to hunting season. Almost time to shut the woods down at my house. Although have not seen any decent bucks this year, so not quite as excited as sometimes what I normally am. Might leave the woods open just a little bit longer.
Whoa, that's
So the guy that got first looks like he's been toward the front just about every race this year. I think he's in the points lead, and so I thought I was going to keep him behind me this particular race, but just wasn't able to hold it out. And then it looked to me like Tom Dotson was pretty close to me in third place by the end of the race. He was probably just, I got a really good start and probably pulled a really good lead right there on, in the first half of the lap. And so looked to me like by the end of the race, either he was just keeping pace with me the whole race, and just a little bit behind me, or he had finally snuck up pretty close to me by the end of the race, because I think I only had like 30 seconds or so on him at the end of the race. A lot of these sections here are pretty fast and flowy. It's like a little bit sketchy there when you go through all that really dry stuff and you all of a sudden you bounce into that little wet section right there. Here when we get out into the grass track, you'll see that there was a few pretty slick spots in that grass track. At least the first lap or two there was. I know I'm not on fresh tires, but still, there was a couple spots that I was glad I wasn't pushing it a little bit harder than what I was, or pretty easy to lose the rear end in some of the grass track. I'm sure some people did that. Imagine how dusty the quad race was, because by the time we got done with that powder, I can't even imagine trying to follow a four-wheeler in some of those sections. It had to have been, I know those guys deal with that a lot, but man, it had to have been awful bad. This is a great piece of property. You can just tell it has the perfect mix of everything. Has plenty of elevation change and plenty of area for off cambers like this, and just everything this place has. I did miss that really long uphill option line that Dummy put in last year. I thought that was a lot of fun, but had plenty of stuff on this track. Like that was a five mile marker. We're going to drop down into the bottom of this valley here in a minute, and then head back out into the grass track, and then we're going to run along that creek in the back, which is just a super fun section. It's like every lap I just couldn't wait to get to that section and try to push it a little bit harder in there. Looks like Trevor had a good race. Looks like he was right on Levi the entire race, keeping him definitely keeping him honest. It looked to me like Levi couldn't let off at all. I heard that a couple of the laps they were basically coming through scoring pretty much, both at the same time. And I think on the results, it looked to me like Levi only had about a minute on Trevor at the end of the race. So some good running there up front. I still can't get used to Levi being on a green bike though. Probably need to be a little bit smoother through these sections right here, but is what it is with these four-wheeler ruts. You kind of just gotta cross over the middle and try to ride smooth into the outer rut, because the inner rut normally is too close to the trees. So if you're in the inner rut, you're gonna wreck into a tree, and so you got to cross over into the outer rut, and it's just never really doesn't really look smooth, that's for sure. So I don't believe that guy is in Masters or Seniors, because again, the first several laps I'm in first place, so that guy must have been just like a faster rider in one of the novice rows or something like that. So this is pretty much my favorite section of this track. This little section here is just, I don't know, this section's a blast. I mean, if you rode the race, I'm sure you would agree. And once we got these ruts worked in, this is the first lap. I mean, by the third lap, this section was just so much fun. You could just pretty much rail every single one of these. This track is definitely the longest drive for me. This race is about a 3-hour drive for me, but there again, I really just like this track. So back up on the railroad grade here. At least I'm pretty sure that's what that is. And out into the grass track. Kind of tiptoeing through here a little bit, because at this point already I have hit a couple of slick spots. So I'm trying not to slide out in the grass on this section here. I'd be curious to know how big of a piece of property this is, because this is a pretty big piece of property. We cover a lot of ground. So this little section up here is full of chicken heads. So you got to kind of pick your way through here a little bit, because there's a couple little stumps sticking up that can definitely kick you a little bit. Alright, so we're heading back up toward the front of the property now. Pretty nasty little G out up here. I think either the first or second lap. That one right there, I totally bottomed my forks out, so I started wheeling through that. And in this little left hand right here, if you raced, you know that was a sketchy little turn right there, because if you'd have been going much faster than what I was, man, you'd have been hard pressed to not be down into that weed patch. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that end up down in that weed patch right there. So we're going to head back up the hill here, kind of an off-camber powdery turn here, and then come back up and across the hill and finish a lap. And one of these off-cambers right here is the one that I slid out in. Maybe, possibly this one right here. I think that off-camber right there is the one that I slid out in on either the last lap or the second to the last lap, and gave up my lead. So the plan right now is to be back on the last race, and my back is not happy with me right now from racing this race, but you know, when you get old, that's what you kind of have to deal with. Old and slow would be one thing, but I'm not completely slow yet, so I'm old and semi-fast, and so yeah, that's not fun on my back. So. But there was a lot of acceleration bumps this race, and you really were getting hammered a lot. And so, hey, at my age, you know, that kind of thing happens. So hope to see everybody at the next race. We're going to come up here on the end of the lap, and I do have footage of Old 50, but I don't know that I'm going to post it. I think it's too boring. But we'll maybe try and get some footage of the next race. See you all later.